Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am hard to kill. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by Pocket Jack Comics, who have books like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily. And they have a Kickstarter going on right now for you to check out. So go on Kickstarter, type in Palace of the Golden Princess by Preston Poulter. You will find it. It's an awesome book. It is some D&D in there. Dungeons and Dragons or the other D&D if you so choose. It has both of those things in there. So it is a fun book to read. I enjoyed the whole series. I think most people will. It has beautiful art and it's got a great ending. So you can go check that out on Kickstarter. I do not think you'll be disappointed. But enough about that, because I have with me Alfred Paige. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited. So I'm excited because you got a lot going on. Obviously, you are a comic creator and you have Footpath Dangerous Nights funding right now on Kickstarter. And we're going to get to that in a second or two or maybe 5 minutes from now. But why don't you quickly introduce who you are? Because you've done, I think, at least 3 or 4 comic series, I think, at this point. Or they're all somewhat connected or they're maybe not as connected as I think they are. But obviously, you've been in the game enough, but there are people who may or may not know you. So why don't you quickly introduce who you are before we get into your book and everything that's going on?
Yes. So my name is Alfred Paige. I'm the creator and head writer of Page One Comics. We have a series of comic books that's called Chess that I started out back in the late 90s. And Chess itself is about a personal agenda strike team. And over the years, we have stretched out those stories in the individuals of the team. So we had comic books underneath characters like Pinpoint, Blowtorch, and now Footpath. And we're just continuing the stories down. So yeah, we have a big lineup of one shots. And like you said, series, you got Chess, you got Pinpoint, you got the Blowtorch, Middleman, Blowtorch Bad Road, which won an award. So yeah, we got a few lines of comic books that we have done and continue to do.
Yeah, so let's talk about it because I think it's a good point to start in before we get into the Kickstarter. Is that obviously chess is not the game of chess, but it's a play on it to some degree. And my understanding of it is, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but chess is the idea of command headquarters of espionage and strategic strikes, and it's kind of a all-arching agency. Might be a good word to use, I guess. Might be a nice. Yeah, I mean, you can describe it. There's a reason why I want to get to this because this is in the world of chess. Is my point.
Yeah, so, it's called chess just for the strategic alignment of it, but it's about a team that works underneath the radar of the government. So they're not a government-funded team or a government team. They're a personal agenda strike team for a gentleman named Avery Davis, and they take care of these missions, or they take missions that they feel like need a personal touch. That they're not waiting for government permission, or you know what I mean. So that's why that you have the likeliness of chess, because this is a strategic move of the person doing it. And yeah, we started chess. I mean, the first run of chess came out, I think, in 97, and then we did a second edition. And then that led into a Pinpoint comic book that we did through Big Dog Inc. And then after that, we did a new chess second sight. We did a Blowtorch. We moved on to Page One Comics. We turned into Page One Comics myself, and we did Blowtorch, Middleman, Blowtorch, Bad Roads, and yeah, it's been continuing. So it's been a fun ride. And that's my intention when I started chess, is to have a team book and have a book of the individuals on the chess team. So that was always my intention. It's like like you read an X-Men, but you could read Wolverine. You know what I mean? So I wanted that same thing.
So let's get into this because we're gonna circle back to this whole concept, because I think it's fascinating when people create stuff. I am not a comic creator. It is not my thing I want to do with my life at the moment. But I do want to talk about the book because obviously this is a expansion. It is a one shot or a potential series, and it is the first issue. And we obviously have this character, Footpath, also known as Rowan Kelly Moore. And this is kind of, I think, her story to some degree. So, what is that whole idea of even building her out? Because you obviously have a lot of ability to play in the world of chess. And you, as you stated really well, is that you can, if it's similar, making the comparison to the X-Men, you can have Wolverine's story, then you can have the whole team together. So, where did the idea for her come and this idea come for this comic? Because I think it's interesting when you have individual stories with people outside of the team, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, well, for people that do follow my books, I had a book called Blowtorch Bury the Past. And in that storyline, even though it's about the relationship between Blowtorch and Footpath, but the storyline itself, it's about these resurrection experiments, right? That was out of control. So from that book, the chess team are now looking and eliminating these resurrection program locations. So that's what's going on in Footpath Dangerous Nights as she tries to enter this lab that's having an auction for these experiments, but it's underneath a party. It's underneath like this mega party on the mansion on an isolated island. So she has to get through the mansion, get to the lab, and so that's the idea, and just continuing that story, but on her own accord. And then it leads into a new project in 2026 called Hostile Assets, which is a crossover with me and the guys at Haunted Pizza with their character Gungoth. For those that know Gungoth and his character and his very successful run at Kickstarters and his lineup of Graveyard Shift and titles that he has over there. So this story actually goes into that crossover.
So I want to break down a bunch of stuff here because this is where this gets really interesting because you mentioned a bunch of stuff. So obviously we have a story coming out of another story connecting, and it's kind of the follow up is this story. And I mean, I think this story, and I don't mean to sound and play it down, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Is that she has a mission to basically find this lab and shut it down before these experiments get distributed to people who are going to do bad things with them, for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah, for the auction. The party is a front for an auction underneath the mansion, and where they selling off these experiments, and that's the idea.
It's an action, like shoot 'em up type book, right? I mean, I've called it like I've seen it, right? And it's perfectly. I mean, I like this stuff. So the point I'm making is that where I'm going with this is that I find it though. So what is, because that's what I think this is, and then but you're coming out and you're almost building out a universe, and I think that's what's unique now is that clearly this is the follow-up to the book you mentioned before where she was first introduced with her thing, and it's kind of like she's tying up the loose ends to the mission that was discovered that this team found. And so what is
That's
that
correct.
like? That's something that I think is unique when you're building out a superhero or special agent team. It's not just we're doing one shots that don't have any semblance next to each other. And I think there's something to be said about that because it's kind of nice when one thing goes to another, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's just a variety of titles that the storyline itself is always a personal agenda strike team. So the missions I get to play with because there's always something going on in the news. There's always something going on. So when I first started chess, it was more GI Joe-ish, if that's the term, I guess. It was more a strike team and a major enemy. You know what I mean? So I had that X-Men, Magneto, GI Joe, Cobra type of feel when I first started it. But as I kept writing, and you listen to the news, there's always something going on. So I just decided writing things that was going on at the time at the time they hit the news, and it gave me more freedom instead of having a direct chess and bad guys. It's just chess continuing stories as the stories come out in the news and relate to them.
No, no, no. I get it. In which that I mean, obviously things change as well, where we're
Yeah,
no
the things
longer.
change.
I
There's
mean,
always something going on. Always something going on. Unfortunately, there's always something going on that's negative in the news or whatever. And then also some of the stuff is through research. I worked with a co-writer named Alice DeGrucci on a lot of the titles, chess and the blowtorch titles. Then this guy is incredible for research. I mean, I would give him an idea, and he'll come back. I mean, these things that are actually true. Like in the chess comic book, we had characters like a little girl who wore a helmet that controls electricity. You know, he had that in chess way before it came out in Stranger Things and stuff. It's a real helmet. It's a real thing. So, you know, it gives them the power. Like a girl could sit here and turn her TV on or turn the lights on with this helmet on and control this electrical static around us. So this is a real thing. So when Alex did these researches, we just included them to the storyline. Like these are, I mean, the story is, of course, a comic book world. You know what I mean? But the things in it, the elements in it are not far fetched. These are real items that's going on.
so I want to actually dive into this a little bit because one of the things is that this has been around now for over 25 years, chess.
Hmm.
Right? So you have
That's
a
correct.
world and to give some further context, and correct me if I'm wrong, because at one point I've ordered a few chess comic books off from Midtown Comics in their previews. I don't know where
Yeah,
they are. They're somewhere in one of my long boxes. So I
that's
mean, I
right.
wasn't
That's
going
right.
to dig through like 30 long boxes. I'm sorry, I'm unprepared, everybody.
Nah,
But
nah.
I have a few of them, but like maybe this is like 5, 6 years ago. But one of the things that I think is interesting is that when you have a world that is 25 years old, give or take, or even more, 25 years plus, you have a well established set of rules, what can be done, what can't be done. And then you have a new title that's brought in, like Footpath. What is that like? Because I would imagine that in some ways it's easier to write that story, but in other ways it's harder because there's a lot of shit going on in chess. I mean, it's not, I mean, and so you could have her doing a mission, but it's also if she does something, it can't fuck up like another team invading another thing. And at some point, she's got to get back to this team and be on that true team because it's kind of like you can't have Wolverine fighting, an enemy at the same time that he's fighting with the X-Men. And so what
That's
is
right.
that like for you? Because it's I don't think it's necessarily hard, but it can get complicated because if it's kind of like if there's 10 members of the team and she's on this mission, she can't be with the other 9. If that makes any sense.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, you know, it just, I guess in a way, it just extends the story. You know, the idea is when people read chess, thank you for supporting chess. People get to get favorite characters. You know what I mean? So like when chess first came out, Pinpoint was the big character, that the crowd pleaser, or you know, the crowd favorite. So I did a Pinpoint storyline. And then the last couple of years we did a big blowtorch run, one of the characters. And he became a big favorite. So the idea is for people to have an interest in the team book, but also have an interest in individuals themselves. When you do these type of books, these one shots about the individuals without the team, you get to show more of that person. You know what I mean? In the team books, you got formulated with dialogue and scenes and stuff like that. A lot of characters in it. But when you go a book like this, you can go direct into what their thoughts, their captions, and get people a better insight on that character for the people that like that character.
Let me ask you this. I'm a big
Hmm.
wrestling fan.
Hmm.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. I don't know how big of a wrestling fan you are. I just pulled a limited 5 autograph of Stephanie Vauquer. I just did, and
Hmm.
you're the first person who's publicly known this. Um, awesome card. Super excited to get it. But I digress there. But in wrestling, this is and hear me out. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's interesting when somebody has a run with a title belt for 9 months and then they get taken off TV for 3 months and somebody else then gets put into the spotlight. Because I think what, and this is how I view it, is that when you have team books and you have one shots, you're elevating and de-elevating characters so that no one character is the star, especially when you have an
That's right.
ensemble cast. And I think there's an art to doing that, especially when you're doing superheroes. Because I'm going to say this, and I know people are going to get upset with me, but it's nice not to see Superman leading the Justice League every once in a while. As much as I love Superman or Batman, it's nice to see Wonder Woman take the charge for a few issues. It's nice to see Wonder Woman be gone from the team for like 12 issues. And it's nice to see Batman to be gone for 6 issues. And then when he comes back, you're like, oh my God, I didn't expect Batman to be back in this scene. And that's the same thing with wrestling. It's the pop. So when you have a book like Footpath and you have her in her one shot, she's getting her own pop. She's getting center stage. But then if she's not on the main chess team for, 4 issues, the other characters fill in the gap and they get moments. And then when she comes back to that, she gets her pop. Because I think there's a problem sometimes because you can oversaturate and drive a character deep in superhero teams. And then it's kind of like the 10th man doesn't get any airtime.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's just like reading X-Men, or I'm a big on the '90s Image comic books. That's what got me started. So it's about having a favorite. You read these titles, even like wrestling. Right? I used to watch wrestling. You had a favorite character. You had Hulk Hogan. You had Roddy Piper. You had Jake the Snake. You had the Brett brothers. And when you get somebody you follow and somebody that you particularly are attracted to in the team, these side books allows you to have that person in their own story. You know what I mean? So just like you be reading X-Men and somebody be like, oh man, I really like reading Wolverine. So you like to read how he works with the team, how he works as an individual. So that's why these one shots and these side stories became so important, because people get to see. We did the back origin on Blowtorch. We did a issue about his relationship and what got him started. We did that with Pinpoint on his own mission, and back to Footpath. I did Footpath first, believe it or not. After Chess, the first comic book I did was a Footpath called Footpath Night of the Ninjas. And Footpath was actually the first character that I did a solo book for. And then I went into Pinpoint and Blowtorch, and now I'm making it back to Footpath again.
Let me ask this then, because I find this fascinating, right? Because again, if I had an ensemble of characters, and never say never, I have an idea that I'm running in my head with an ensemble cast, and I would want to move them around and I want to rotate them because I don't ever want to give somebody oversaturation. I think that that's a horrible idea, right? Just personally, maybe I'm wrong, but it's just a personal position. But do you also feel though that like it's good for business and because the people who are Footpath diehard fans are going to eat this up and they're going to go deep. People who are chess fans, they might go one way or the other off the main story, but a good majority of them are probably going to eat it up too. But then you really pinpoint, and those people who want this shit, those are the diehard fans of your favorite character. Because you mentioned Wolverine. If you are a diehard Wolverine fan, you're going to buy everything Wolverine,
Yeah.
but then you're also probably going to buy everything X-Men, but you might not buy everything Iron Man. But,
That's
like,
right.
but there's a good chance that a bunch of the X-Men fan are going to pick up at least some of the Wolverine stuff. And probably the same, I would imagine, is with chess to some degree. Is not everybody's going to be like, oh, let's go team, I'm all in, right? Not everybody's going to do it because it's impossible to get 100%. But if you get 80% of the people to join you, it's good for business. But then those people want it. They're like, this is what I wanted. And that's good, right? I mean, so do you feel that it's that too? And also, and I'm gonna throw another question in there, is that it's just more content, right? And the more content you have is the more touch points you have, the more sales you're gonna get, just by law of large numbers.
Yeah, well, it's
I threw a lot
a
at you.
history. Yeah, well, it's a history of writing and how you build in a world. So when you build in a world, just like X-Men and stuff like that, you have so many opportunities to play with the characters outside the team. You know what I mean? So the people that follows that character, say I want to write an Iceman comic book. He's not as popular as Wolverine or as popular as Rogue or one of the more popular characters. But if you write a story about him that is engaging, now he does become one of the more popular characters, or he does have a following of his own, because now they get to know him as an individual away from the team. When it comes back to a new X-Men comic book, and the Iceman, like you said, Iceman is back. They have a new position on how they read them. You know what I mean? So that's what you're trying to build. You're trying to build everybody that you don't know who your favorite is. You know what I mean? And this issue, I mean, of course, Pinpoint is mostly a lot of people's favorite because he's the wild card. He's the, I guess, the Wolverine of the team, or the out of control guy of the team. But people, when we did the Blowtorch run the last 2 years, that was phenomenal. People all the time, Blowtorch had his own fan base. Just Blowtorch has this whole fan base by himself. So and Blowtorch happens to be Footpath's boyfriend. So the relation, it just made sense to go from that relationship into Footpath and then move on to the other characters. So it's actually beneficial because you get you get so much material. You know what I mean? For those, like you said, you got chess, you picked up chess. I mean, so you could always pick up Pinpoint, Blowtorch, Footpath, and these side material stories that's going on. And then when it comes right back to a new chess comic book, which we're playing in next year, you're ready. You're like, oh, now I like Pinpoint better now, or I have an understanding of Blowtorch more now that you didn't get from the team book because there's not enough room to isolate a person in the team book.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Again, I just think it's interesting when people, do side stories, things of that nature, and all that. But again, I mean, I was just curious because again, I'm a big touch point guy because the more content I have, just in anything, and the rule applies, in my opinion, to anything, is the more sales you're going to get, the more people you're going to reach. So if you have 50 books that you've produced in the last 25 years, you have a better chance of reaching more people than if you have 10 books. And especially, and also even you have, 50 different books as well. And obviously, if you're pinpointing certain characters, because every character looks a little bit different and all that stuff. So I was just curious on a business level on how you view it because I think it's fascinating and it's also all of its canon, right? I mean, there's no like reset in chess, from my understanding, right?
That's correct. The best thing about it is when you find somebody that follows your titles, and then they got all of them. You go to a convention. Sometimes you do a convention, and somebody pops up. They got a chess, Blowtorch, this, and they got me signing. I'm signing all these titles. I'm like, oh, you really follow my comic books? And he's like, yeah, I've been following this since the beginning. I recently had a guy, George. I don't know how to say his last name, but he pledged to the Footpath Kickstarter, and then he contacted me and said, "Yo, I'm so happy that you got something going on. I was ready for something new." And then he sent me a picture of all my comic books that he has, the whole collection, everything from the beginning. I was like, "Oh wow," you know what I mean? I was like, "That's what it's about," you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's like when you used to collect comic books. You used to collect, I don't know, some people collect the Spider-Man, some people collect the Batman or whatever. And then you find people that are collecting your books and following you from con to con, and and waiting for your next installment, no matter whether it's the chess or individual team. That's a great feeling. That's amazing. I was like, this guy had all my books from the beginning. I'm talking about books from Pinpoint came out in the original Pinpoint came out in 2007. You know what I mean? He had the whole run, even the anniversary editions that just recently came out to Antarctic Press. He had everything. So, and what he didn't have, he's getting. So, you know what I mean? That's amazing. That's the amazing part of the scenario of being a creator and having these titles, is that when you do have a fan base that follows the way you write comic books, and that's great. That's a great feeling.
Again. I've never experienced that. I mean, I've had people, when I used to do panels at conventions, I used to have people and repeat people come to my panels, and that's always nice. But yeah, I mean, and then obviously I have repeat, people watch, my content on YouTube and watch these interviews and comment on YouTube and all that stuff. And that's always helpful too. And they've been watching for years. And so that's cool. But again, I haven't had that experience. At the moment, doesn't mean that I won't. But yeah, no. I can imagine that it's cool. But obviously, I mean, I want to talk even going further into the Kickstarter stuff of this because and hopefully I'm not going to embarrass you too much, but you really are not familiar with Kickstarter. And in which this is a brand new territory for you. And obviously, Jonathan Hendricks is writing the book and he's running it on his campaign. And so, what is that like to enter the realm of Kickstarter? Because you're not alone in basically what I call Diamond owes us money, and we have the book done, but we need to be paid, and they're not writing me a check. And you're not the only one. I mean, the list is well known, right? I mean,
yeah, obviously, what happened with Diamond, across all the board. So that's well news. But as far as Jonathan, I got lucky with that one because I was writing like 13 pages into Footpath, into the comic book, and timely enough, I was just talking to Jonathan about the idea, where I'm going with it, and he finished the script, and he did everything. He sent me back the script, and it was fantastic. It had everything I wanted plus more. So then we was like, well, everything that's going on with Diamond, everything's slowing up, and obviously the money issues that's putting people into the hole. It was like, all right, what do we do now? You know what I'm saying? We got these stories, we got what we gonna do with it. So me not being familiar with Kickstarter, but Jonathan says, hey, let me do let's do a Kickstarter for it. And he runs it. He runs the Kickstarter. He understood how to do the presentation. He understands the business of back a kit. He understands how to properly present a Kickstarter to be funded. So I got lucky with that.
Let's break this down a little bit because I build all my interviews. I schedule all my interviews. I have no desire to hand over that responsibility to anybody anytime soon. It's the way I write an interview. It is not how everybody else writes an interview, and I write it and I think how I write. So if you were to see my interview script, you'd be like, "What the fuck is in his interview script?" But it works. So I have to do all that. I do all my research. I do all of that. But and even editing. I've handed over editing, and I would say it's 50% of the time it's good, and 50% it's pretty bad. The editing. It's not easy to edit an interview or cut up an interview because somebody doesn't know what I want exactly. And I also don't want to give up creative control. So what is that like for you? Because when somebody's writing your book, as the creator and your world and your baby, I mean, what is that like for you? Because obviously I think you're happy with the script, but at the same time, I think it can be terrifying.
I mean, you do an outline, and sometimes you enjoy what comes back. You know what I mean? You write all these stories, and then you get a chance to see what somebody else thinks about your character, the direction, and sometimes it comes back surprisingly good. Like I said, I got lucky with the three co-writers I have worked with. This Philip Morgan, Alice DeGruchy, and now Jonathan Hendrick. And sometimes giving that freedom, I don't want to say freedom, but giving that outline to somebody and see what they come back with. They think about things that you don't think about. You know what I mean? And that's how I got lucky with Jonathan. He came back with a script that had every element that I wanted in the script that I gave to the script, plus more. You know what I mean? With a different presentation. So it's fantastic, and you get to go back and forth to really edit it to where you want it to be. So it's a good process if you're working with people that you trust, with your characters. I happen to know the people I work with. I happen to have great trust with the direction of the characters.
And then the other thing too is that obviously, Jonathan Hendricks is running the campaign, and it's his network, it's his, Kickstarter page. And what is that like for you?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you have your own Kickstarter page. Obviously, you have been, distributed through Diamond, you've been distributed through Antarctic Press. And what is that like to kind of hit a new network, for lack of a better word, and be in a new territory on Kickstarter and potentially reach new people? Because I'm sure some people know what chess is who have been following and read Jonathan Hendricks' work. And I'm positive a bunch of people don't, right? And so you're reaching a brand new audience in many ways.
That's right.
Probably. And so what is that like? Because there is value in that, I feel.
Yeah, well, I supported Kickstarter plenty of times, but I've never been a Kickstarter person like that. I like the direct market. I liked it better, and I wasn't familiar with what it goes into to making your own Kickstarter. So I did Kickstarters in the past. Like Chess is still a Kickstarter, but it was through a company, so they ran the Kickstarter. As far as me doing it directly myself, I don't have that experience in it. So even though people are asking me, when's your next title? How can I get it? Oh, now that now Blowtorch is in stores, now that it's not in stores, how can I get your book? So this is a way that you could give that information out to, like, all right, it's not in Diamond no more, but now it's in this Kickstarter, and you can pledge to it to get this next title. So the fan base still has an outlet to a way to reach you and reach what you're doing.
So let me ask this, because obviously, Jonathan Hendricks has written for Scout. He's written for a bunch of other, areas and a bunch of other companies. And, he's obviously well known in the indie scene and a few other big, mid-level publishers in many ways. And obviously his name means something. So what is that like for you? Because I don't think we can discount a name. My whole interview base is built off of names, right? It's kind of like when you interview a big name, all of a sudden you get 30,000 views on an interview. It's not because of me. It's because of who I'm interviewing, right? So
That's right.
And also tagging and other things. Some clips, if you tag it the right way, it does well. But I think there is something to be said where when Jonathan Hendricks is the writer, people follow Jonathan Hendricks' writing, and then it's his Kickstarter, and there's almost trust there that's built to say, cool, what is this project? But it's on Jonathan Hendricks' Kickstarter. And so what is that like for you? Because it expands your audience in many ways.
Oh, it's great for me. I'm not only get the experience of an incredible writer, like you said, Jonathan's on the uprise in the comic book industry. With his he has a wide collection of award-winning comic books. He's a big talent. So for me, I get to not only write and do an outline, but now I get to learn too. You know what I mean? I get to learn another side of the comic book business that I wasn't as familiar with through his steps, and he taking me along. So, this Footpath project, I really learned a lot about the presentation and the business and how Kickstarter works, which I wasn't as familiar with doing myself. I mean, I supported a lot of Kickstarters, but supporting Kickstarters is easy. Doing one and doing the presentation and the business for one is a whole different animal. So I got lucky. I feel great. I mean, like I said, if you working with somebody that is talented and is a good person and actually shows you as they go along, now you're into a learning experience, and it just takes you to another level of the game, another area of the comic book game.
And then I mean, I'm curious because obviously you were in the direct market. Who knows what the hell is going to happen with this diamond stuff, lunar, and all that stuff. And then there's publishers popping up, not popping up. There's a lot of turmoil. Nobody has any idea what's going on with this whole bankruptcy stuff. I would take the assumption, everybody, I'm not a lawyer, but you're not getting any of that money. And if you get a piece of that money, just treat it as a bonus. Is a good way I would phrase it. But where do you think it's going with that? Because to me, I mean, I'll tell you my opinion and feel free to disagree. I think in the temporary thing, it's going to be a lot of Kickstarter stuff, and I don't think the direct market is going to be great. I think it's going to be rough. I think at some point it will fix itself, and I think it will come back. But I do think that the next 2-3 years, it's going to take a while for this to get back in full swing. And the reason why I say it is that you cannot print 30,000 copies off a Kickstarter and get into every comic shop off a Kickstarter. That's not viable. I mean, you need a big distributor like Lunar or a Diamond to do that. But if you want to print 3,000 copies, it's doable on Kickstarter. It's not easy, but it's doable.
Yeah, it's doable if you understand it and you're attuned with the business of it. I like the direct market because it's a one setup, and everybody gets to get to your comic book, from, like you said, Midtown Comics to somebody in California to somebody the accessible to your comic book, to your title is a lot bigger, right?
Let me ask this, because I know people who don't trust Kickstarter, right? And I'm gonna ask you a question. How many Kickstarters have you backed in your whole history of Kickstarter?
Oh man, I couldn't even give you a number. I've been backing other creators through Kickstarter for the longest. I mean,
I'll ask it this way: have you backed over 150 projects? Is that a fair statement? Over 150?
If we're not over near that number.
So you understand, it's not a gotcha moment, right? So I think I backed like 150, 160, projects. I've been screwed on 3 of them, which is really good, right? It's pretty good. It's pretty good being, actually it's 4 now that I think about it, but pretty good to be screwed on 4 projects out of 160, right? I would say it's not great, but people, I know people who have been screwed over 10, but I get there's mistrust in Kickstarter versus a direct market, because Kickstarter puts out a claim saying you are not entitled to your rewards and we're not responsible for it, and they put out that disclaimer. Whether that disclaimer is valid or not, that has to be legally tested. There could be an argument that disclaimer is actually not legal by Kickstarter for the very reason that they're engaging in a processing fee. But that would actually have to be legally tested. And it'd be a fascinating case. It'd be absolutely fascinating. I'm a political science major. I was thinking about going to law school. I didn't go, guys. But it would be absolutely fascinating. But there is mistrust when you put out a statement like that, because that statement implies that rewards cannot be delivered. And so if I'm a comic shop and I'm picking up a retail package, I can't afford to take that risk and say, I want 50 copies of your book, but rewards aren't guaranteed. And that's a real issue. It's a real issue, because I can't drop $200 if I'm a comic shop, or $300 to get a bunch of retail packages, not knowing if it's going to be delivered on the off chance, and be screwed out of $300, $400, $500. It's a real issue versus the direct market. if Diamond doesn't deliver me my books, I get a credit or I get my money back if I'm a comic shop retailer. So I mean, that's the biggest problem with retail on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, Kickstarter itself is a risk because you have the trust of the team behind it, not the team behind Kickstarter, the team behind the comic book itself. So that again, that's one of the reasons why I'm working with Jonathan Hendrick, because he has a history of on-time comic books, of people getting them, and they know the comic book is coming. It's a more trusted outlook of the book is coming to you.
My issue is that it's also trusted. My problem with a lot of this too is that somebody says the book's coming in March and then it comes in June.
That stuff like that. I mean, that's going to happen because
I run an eBay comic selling business. So if I tell my client it's coming in March and it doesn't come in June, I get screwed, right? And some clients are understanding, but some clients are not. And this is why
the difference is the difference in that is it's an indie market. It's just what it is. It's an indie market. The people that's doing comic books, when indie people that's doing comic books is sometimes not their main job. It's always like a side job or something, and they facing the consequences or demands on their behalf, which causes the outlet. So like Marvel and DC does.
I'm sympathetic, but the problem is that when you have a client who's yelling at you, it's very hard for me to go back and say, well, it's an indie market, you got to suck it up too, because then they get eBay involved and then I have to refund them the money and I take that risk. And this is why I have such a hard time, because and this is my biggest issue, right? It's hard for me to pick up independent comic books. And I think this is fascinating because I understand it. I think a lot of people understand it, but all of a sudden you have clients who don't. And it's like, I'm like, guys, like you're going to get your book. And if you don't get your book in 6 months, we'll figure something out how to solve it. But like, that's my issue, right? Because I have no problem taking a risk backing a Kickstarter. But when I have a client who then buys the book, it's very hard for me. And then I'm going to shoot a creator message, be like, look, I don't want to yell at you, but like, you got to know that I bought a retail package and I have those books sold. Like I need an update, man. Like, but like, this is my whole thing where, and I'm not saying it's you, but like every comic creator does this. I have not had one campaign that's ever been on time. Out of like the 160, not one of them has ever been on time. I mean, granted, we're not talking about like a year late. We're talking maybe like 2 months late. But and granted, I'm not buying a lot of retail packages, but every once in a while you do, and it's like I can't sell that retail package until it's in my hand.
Yeah, well, the idea is to give you that time, to give the creators that time. Unfortunately, it's not always on the creators. No, the creators are working with a team, artists, letterers, colorists, and stuff like that. So sometimes stuff happens with that team. There's been a lot of projects that I know that start out with one artist, and they get three ways into the comic book. All of a sudden, the artist something happens and the artist disappears. Now they gotta go back and restart the whole comic book all over again, and that causes a delay and a whole new budget. So I mean, it's not necessarily always on the people, the circumstances that is always behind comic books when you're an indie.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So
again, I understand it. You understand it. Anybody who's in it understands it. But when you have a client saying, "Where the fuck's my book, man?" And then but they don't say, "Where the fuck's the book?" They use much saying, "Where's my motherfucking book? You son of a screwing bitch who's gonna screw me, you scammer." That's like the messages that I get every once in a while with like retail comic books on eBay. It's horrible because I'm like, I'm not scamming you. It's like the worst because I hate the S word, right? I hate the S word. That's my point.
Yeah, well, I guess eBay will come with the same kind of similar disclaimer as Kickstarter. books are not guaranteed until in storage. You know what I mean? So I mean, it just comes to that. It just unfortunately, it just comes with that risk.
It does. It does come. I mean, this is why, when I buy a retail package, I mean, it's like, and this is my issue with I don't think that people in Kickstarter understand is that I cannot list and sell your book on a pre-sale until it's shipped out. So I have to give you the money, wait 6 months, and lay out the money. And this is why I need a 50% discount, because I need the ability so that if I would buy, so if your book is normally $20, I have to buy your book for 8 to 10 to make any money if the MSRP is 20 on it. And even still, I probably need a better discount than that because I'm laying out so much capital and I literally have to wait 6 to 8 months before I get it. So I'm already at a loss laying out capital, much like you are when you build out a Kickstarter. So we're because I cannot sell something I don't have a guarantee that it's going to arrive until it does, which makes sense, right? I mean, because I can't screw my clients. But like that's my issue with retail, and it's why I don't like picking up retail comics. I would almost rather pay, 60% of MSRP versus getting a better discount, knowing that I'm going to get the book in 2 weeks. I'd rather make less money, but no, I have a guarantee so I can sell it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you mean. I got people that do a eBay business with my comic books as well, but like I said, it's the flip of the coin. You know what I mean? Some people do Kickstarters for books that's already done. You know what I mean? So somebody might already had completed the whole comic book and just waiting for the funding for the print course, and they could send it right out. So you got that book in 2 weeks. You got that book in a month. Some people, like what we're doing, we do the book. The funding goes into the production of the comic book itself. So it's a little bit longer. Our anticipated time is February. So we're going to do our best to stick to that. I mean, Jonathan has an incredible history of sticking to his time projects, and we're well on our way to maybe even before that, actually. But as long as you make that known, hey, look, this comic book, you want to pay for it now, but it might not be done until February, March of next year, because we got to go through the whole production phase of it. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Not everybody's Kickstarter is that way, but
No.
it happens to be one of the rules.
I get it. What I find, right, is that I don't have a problem necessarily waiting. It's just when I'm running a business, it's really hard to sell me on retail packages. And like I want to buy retail packages, and it's just hard. It's just hard because waiting in the capital game is just so difficult. It's hard to justify, especially when it's just like, great, we're in October and I have to wait till April. Like that's 6 months. That's a lot. That's a big ask. But I understand it when and then the other side of it is that I don't have a problem waiting for a book if it's just one book, because I don't have anybody that's relying on that book to arrive. It's when I have another person relying on me that it becomes complicated, because that's when they get nervous and then they file a complaint and then my rating goes down on eBay and then my business goes to hell. Like but and again, what is, if this is why retail on Kickstarter is a disaster, because it's that age-old problem, and that's why the direct market is the solution for that, because retail on Kickstarter is hell. But I digress. Speaking about that though, because I do like the fact that your prices are reasonable on Kickstarter. So how the hell?
Yeah. We got a retailer package for $75, a big one for $75 for a value of $200, for a value of $150 that you get back. So it's like half price. So we did 50% thing on it, and you get the exclusives, which you get the exclusive Brian Silverback covers with that as well. So just on those alone, you make your money back. But like you said, unfortunately, yeah, it's the wait time till you get the comic books in your hand.
Let's talk about this. So obviously you have a retail package, and I think we beat retail to death. I'm not too concerned about your retail package, but I think your books are only like $10 in a physical. So
Yeah.
last I checked on that, because again, you've seen some Kickstarters where like a cover A is like 15, a cover A is 20. I've seen exclusive be 40. I've seen really expensive books on Kickstarter. I've seen a cover A be 25. And I mean, when was the last time you were in a comic shop? Just curiosity.
Oh, I go to a comic shop very often. I live around the corner from one.
You know where my question's going, right?
Oh, do you pay that much in the comic book shop for those same covers?
When I can
Yeah,
go,
no,
no, that's
you
not my
don't.
question. When
Mm,
when I go and buy a Batman, it's like $5.99, right? So
mm-hmm,
right now, I think the average price of a comic is about $5, give or take.
mm-hmm.
And so I understand it's Kickstarter. I understand it's indie publishing. So you cannot charge $5 for the same thing that DC is printing 40,000 of, just because of printing
That's right.
alone.
It just don't
But
work. It just don't work that way. Yeah,
but if you're charging me $25 for a cover A, I go, what the fuck, right? Like, you understand where I'm going with this. So like where I'm going is that, how did you figure out how to price your books at 10? Because I don't think it's unreasonable on an indie book for $10. I think an indie cover A at $20 on Kickstarter is insane. I think it's overpriced, because
well,
you're
it
asking.
also depends on who's doing it. You know, if you're not doing it in big bulk, I mean, Kickstarter is not a lot of people. I mean, what I mean, it's not the same as direct market. Direct market, you sell, say, to 1,000 people. At Kickstarter, most people are selling to under 200 people. You know what I mean? So the print cost for that
The
comic book
less
you're
you
talking
print.
about might be $6.99 to print, depending on what kind of paper or how many pages it is.
So I had Mixum as a sponsor 2 years ago. So I know exactly how much it costs to print like 200 copies of a book. That's 28
Mm-hmm,
pages. Um, you
mm-hmm,
know, I know exactly what it costs to print 200 copies. I know what it costs to print 100. I know what it costs to print 50, give or take. Obviously, things have changed. So the less you
mm-hmm.
print, the more expensive it becomes.
That's
Um,
right.
by definition. But also, the more you print, the cheaper it becomes. And then you
That's
get
right.
into offset printing, which is its own thing. And this is where it gets tricky, right? Because you got to find the sweet spot of how many you want to print, and how is that going to affect your customer. Because I am more, I mean, $10 for me for a book, it's attractive, if that makes sense. If I'm on the fence and you're going to charge me $10 a book or $12 a book, it's very attractive. If you're going to charge me 20 and I'm on the fence, I might back off, right? So like that, because I find it fascinating that, and I don't know how you're charging $10 unless you're printing them in a lot. But that's the other thing too, right? Is that if you know you're going to go to a bunch of conventions, you should print 500 of them, right? If you know you could sell them. So I find it
Well,
fascinating.
sometimes it's two different comic books. So like what I do is I have a Kickstarter run. We have the regular covers in there. We do one exclusive, which we did for 20, Mr. Brian Silverback's exclusive, because that's gonna be the more limited one. But the ones you get in cons, when you do a cons, it might be a different line of comic book. It might not be the same cover or the same artist, or most people in cons, they do other variants like foils or metals or stuff like that that's not included in the Kickstarter. So I mean, like I said, it's a back and forth game. It's no particular way to have it done. Unfortunately, indies have to pay for that production cost. So for us, it's going to be more than the comic books in stores, because we don't do the same numbers. Kickstarter is, for the most part, 100, maybe 100 copies. You know what I mean? 200
But,
copies, depending
but
on
doesn't it come
how
back?
good the funder, how good it is due.
Doesn't it come back though? Because again, I mean, this is I run a very pinpointed eBay business is a good way to put it. I know all my numbers off the top of my head. I know
Mm-hmm.
my profit margin perfectly, that down to like
Mm-hmm.
the billionth of a percentage. I'm one of those kids, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm to run a campaign, right? I mean, this is just how I think, and I'm curious how you think about it. Is that you know if it's going to cost me $4 to print 300, but it's going to cost me $2.50 to print 500, I might print 500 of cover A. And the reason why is that I'm spending more money, but I'm also going to be now able to either lower the price of cover A a little bit, or I'm going to have, cover A now, and I'm going to just try to hustle that book as much as I can at conventions, at eBay, wherever else I can sell it, and move it along to maximize profit. And because, if you run another campaign, you can always have in backer kit your excess covers. So, like, I think that's where this gets really interesting about business is that maybe taking a loss initially is a gain in the future. And this is how I think about my eBay business is that I buy in bulk. I buy purposely in bulk a lot of cards for this very reason. And because I know it becomes cheaper. I buy a lot of sports cards, and if you buy 25 of them for 100, it's 4 a card. If you buy 10, it's 6 a card. But I'm going to be selling those cards for $8 a piece. There's no money if I buy only 10. But then when I move
Mm-hmm.
all 25 of them, I'm pulling in $80 to $100 above what I paid. And this is how I think of it, right? So, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how you think of it, but like that's how I think of it. Is that the more I can buy at a cheaper price, the more my profits go up and I can maximize my rate of return.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, like I said, Kickstarter, the budget, a lot of people do Kickstarter for the budget for the production. You know what I mean? They might not have $500-$600 laying around at home to hey, comic book store, send me 1,000. You might not have that budget. Their budget might come directly from the Kickstarter, and a lot of Kickstarters you don't know what the budget is until it's done because you got people. I got digital rewards as well. I got digital catalogs, and Jonathan Hendrick got a digital catalog in the Kickstarter. So people might get that. That's not a print course. You got to see how many prints you need to fulfill, and then test that, and then go with that number. So you can't predict what you're going to get of what cover. You know what I mean? I got 5 covers. I might not do 500 copies of 5 covers. You know what I mean? So I might do of one, but you still gotta get the other covers for the people that pledge for it.
No, 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 no. Again. This is not something I want to do. I understand this with cards. I really understand this with cards. I understand it in theory, right? But theory and practicality are not the same by a long shot. Because it could be that cover C somehow 800 people order cover C and nobody orders the rest, right? Like it's like all of a sudden nobody orders cover B, and it's like, what the fuck do you do then? Do you have to order like 50 of cover B at a convention, or like do you cut it out? Like what happens then if nobody orders a cover? I mean, it's a genuine question, right? I mean, it's a serious, genuine question. I'm not asking you to answer it, but I know people who have had like 10 covers, and legitly cover E, only 15 of them were made. It's like, what do you do in that circumstance? It's crazy, right? Because those 15 covers are really expensive to print.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. That's why you get the those prices for those limiteds. That's why you get cover E $25 up front.
Cover E on this campaign was $20, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you what campaign it was, but nobody cared. And it was just It wasn't even a super limited. There was no limitation on it. It just didn't move. It was a crazy circumstance where a cover didn't move, and it turned out that like 15 or 20 people ordered it, but like cover C did like 200 copies. It's a weird one, right? It's a weird one, right? I'm exaggerating. So all the covers were limited to 100, right? But cover E only sold like but cover C sold out because nobody cared for the artist on cover E. They didn't like the cover E cover. It's a
Okay.
crazy circumstance, right? And that happens a lot more than people realize. It's crazy. I'm so fascinated by numbers and probability that like it just makes me excited as a human being. Like it's like the weirdest thing ever. I'm one of those kids, and I'm a C plus math student, which is even worse.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess you got to take in all the variables of what can and cannot happen. So yeah.
But no, I just like the fact that your book's affordable. Is where I'm going with this.
But thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it says something that you don't say. I'm going to go and I'm going to try to make my book affordable so that as many people can buy it. And I think that's an issue on Kickstarter because $20 is a lot to ask. It is for a comic book.
Hmm.
Not a variant, but like a cover A or a cover B. It's a lot to ask. $10 is not a lot to ask. $10 is the equivalent of me going to Starbucks on Sunday. $20 is me and my girlfriend going to Starbucks on Sunday with having $5 left over.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference between those two things. So, but I just like the fact that your book is affordable.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So that's all I have to say about that. And then obviously, I mean, this is cover A. I think it's cover A, right? No, that's not cover A. So that's not your book. Different book.
No,
This is your book.
that's right.
This is, I believe, cover B, which seems like it's like this one, just a variation of it.
Yeah, it just has the chess emblem in the background.
I think this one's $10 too. I think cover A and cover B are $10, right?
Yeah, all of them are $10 except for the limited.
That one is that. That one's that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this, which is Brian Silverback.
That's right. That's the Brian Silverback exclusive. So that one's a little bit more expensive because it's going to be it's not going to be the same print run.
So is that one print to order or is it capped?
I mean, we're going to print a certain amount, of course, but it depends what the print number is. We got to see what it is at the end of the Kickstarter, and then make a determination of how maybe of what we're going to do with it.
So some people, I mean, the reason why I'm asking is that sometimes some people say there's only 100 of these, and there's only going to be 100 printed, and some people say it's print to order and everything is print to order, or is it that I mean, if 1,500 people order the Brian Silverback, you'll print 1,500 of them, right?
Yeah, you would have to.
Okay.
You have to print. I mean, print 2,000.
That's what I want to do. I want to make that happen. I want to find 1,500 people so that they all order that, and it becomes like the best-selling one out of the bunch. That's what we're going to achieve.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I mean, you're going to print what the pledges make it that you can print that, make that number.
Yes.
Obviously, 1,500 would be fantastic because the cost outweighs the prints at that point, right? So, but a lot of indie people are not going to print 1,500 copies of a comic book. So, if you could get to the point that the price of the print is favorable, that's fantastic. So yeah, I would love 1,500 people to pick a Brian Silverback cover. That'd be great.
Perfect. I'm gonna try to. I want that book to. I would love to help you make that book, just on a personal level, be the best selling one out of the bunch. That'd be awesome.
And
It would just
it's
it
a
would just,
fantastic cover too. You
what
know,
would you
Brian
say?
Silverback is it's a fantastic cover, and Brian Silverback, you know, his covers are moving. You know what I mean? He's a incredible artist, and he's on the uprise. And his covers, I mean, he does some incredible covers, and they are in value on eBay and other sites. So, I mean, it's a benefit for the person that wants something that, you know, is a little bit extra to get that cover and hold on to it, because the value of it is above what's on Kickstarter. You know what I mean? You get Brian Silverback's comic book, you might be like, oh, $20 is a lot. But when the comic book is selling for 65 on eBay, you start to realize, like, oh, that $20, I could get that back, or the value of it is there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yes. So that this is the Brian Silverback. That's the one right
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone wants it,
Yeah.
you can pick it up on Kickstarter. And then obviously, we spoke a lot about this. There's a lot of other stuff. There's some digital rewards being drawn into the book. I think you could hire Jonathan Hendricks to write 8 pages for you for something, and I'm sure you could work some stuff out with him and give him an idea, give him maybe an outline, could do something. I'm pretty sure you could use that, but I don't know the whole rules of all that. So, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And then obviously, I mean, I think you did you meet your goal? Did you meet your goal yet?
We did hit goal. Yes, we did. And we still got 9 days left. So we're still, now we're going into the more fun aspects of it. We got some bonuses that you're gonna be adding to it. You got some comic books that we're looking to add to it if you hit that goal. So yeah, now we get to do the extra stuff, the fun stuff, which is always a great move.
It's a sign of relief, right?
I won't say it's a sign of relief. I'm just saying that you could do your stretch goals. Like we got a print at 4,000 by Josh Ripley and Matthew Hughes of an X-Men homage cover. You know, you get to add these
When
elements in these.
I'll ask it this way. I would imagine, and I mean, on my campaign when I funded it was a sign of relief because I didn't fail. I made it. I was successful, and it's a good feeling that people want to be supportive and people are successful and that people you fund, right? Meaning that
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know how you feel about failure, right? But when I fail or something doesn't work, it doesn't feel good. So I would imagine that it's also because you don't want to put something out there, and there are debates in Kickstarters that if something is going to fail, is it better to fail or is it better to end it before it fails? And there is I think valid points on both sides because a failure is not good on Kickstarter, but it also could just be that it just didn't work. But if you're successful and you fund, that means that people want it, and I'm a big believer in forward momentum.
Mm-hmm.
If things start going one way and then it's like a ball rolling down a hill, it just picks up speed. Good stuff happens when you have forward momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I asked the question. Is that I was just curious how you felt when you're like, we met our goal. Thank God. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, you meet your goal. Now the work begins. You know, now
yeah.
the obligation begins. So now the work begins. So now you gotta you start planning your printing. You start trying to take in your numbers, and you know the rest of it starts. You know what I mean? The job starts when it hits the goal. So now that it hit the goal, that put the production in movement, and now we can move on to the bigger items.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then again, when I funded on my Kickstarter, I was just happy. I was just happy. I was thrilled. I'm like, oh man, like this is good. I didn't fail. I mean, granted, this was like 4 years ago. I'm like, okay, there was some success here. Thank God. But I digress. on that point. But obviously, I do want to ask you some other stuff because obviously we did speak about it a little bit, but obviously I am curious where you think the comic industry is going because everything is messed up right now. You know, I find that selling books is hard. I find that, people are having trouble printing, things are more expensive, things are artists are complicated, or a lot of artists are more expensive than they were 2, 3 years ago. Printing is
Oh, yeah.
complicated. We don't know where it's going. Diamond is a nightmare. And so I am curious where you think this is all going because a lot of stuff has changed in the last 2, 3 years.
Yeah, with Diamond situation, now you gotta see who's gonna pick up that slack. You know what I mean? You got a lot of people that's but it's about who the comic book stores trust. You know what I mean? To fulfill, like you said, like just like a Kickstarter. Uh, it's about comic book stores making that trust into who's going to distribute these new comic books that it's not as popular as DC and Marvel. You know what I mean? So for the indie market, now we gotta find somebody that is going to build that reputation in the comic book stores that we could still get those comic books in stores without Diamond. So it serves a challenge, but like anything else, challenges provide opportunities. So
Let me ask you a question because I am curious. I haven't read much DC or much Marvel in probably the last 4 or 5 years.
mhm,
And I'm curious how you feel about that. Where it's not that I think that they're in a weird spot where they're telling a lot of stories over again. I don't think they're telling anything really groundbreaking. Very few things are new and new ideas. I mean, Absolute Batman is really enjoyable for me, but that's about it that I'm reading from DC. But I'm reading a lot of stuff from Titan. I'm reading a lot of stuff from Scout, or not Scout anymore, but Source Point. I'm reading a lot of stuff from Zenoscope, from Boom a little bit. But like I've
mhm.
left kind of the big two. I'm reading some stuff from Image, but I'm also reading stuff from just indie and like that. So I'm curious how you feel because I feel like there's a shift, and I'm also reading a lot more manga. To be honest, I would say I'm reading of the comic stuff. I'm reading like 50% of it is manga. It's cheaper
Mhm.
and it's better and it's easier to read. And so I'm curious how you feel about that because I feel there's a shift in readership going on.
Yeah, I mean, people are always gonna be looking for something new outside of Superman, Batman, and stuff that they read for years. You know what I mean? How much Superman can you read? How much Batman can you read? And you're looking for original stories. And with those characters, it's hard to get original stories because everything's been done. So, but when they do something like now they're doing the DC Marvel crossover and stuff like that, it brings the excitement. Those titles go up. So, I mean, like I said, it's all about who you follow and what kind of comic books you like and who you like. Some people only read DC Marvel because it's dependable and don't have to worry about Kickstarter and stuff like that. They know it's coming to stores. They know that if anything else is going to be in the comic book store, it's going to be Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, X-Men, whatever. But yeah. But for people that's looking for new titles to read and new things to get into, they also have that option as well through Kickstarter and other indie titles.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I was just curious because I have an opinion and I am looking at this from a business perspective and as a fan and as a reader. And I was just wondering if you have an opinion that might be different than mine from the writing perspective, because in many ways I'm looking in and I'm trying to identify where everything is going. And I've noticed just trends. And I was just
Hmm.
curious because a writer and people who make comics have a not all the time, but sometimes have a different opinion than I do because they might see it
Hmm.
differently. So that's why I was just curious because again, I
Okay.
see something in a unique way that other people don't. And then also as a comic book seller flipper, I see things also differently too. That sometimes writers don't see or appreciate. So I'm sorry if you don't appreciate my viewpoint, everybody. But I digress. But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So Where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, back the campaign, check out what you're doing, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so again, you could go to Kickstarter and get the Footpath Dangerous Nights project. It's 32 pages, a little bit extra with the bonuses. So we're giving you a good product. It's a lot of action. So like you said, it's a rapid action style comic book. So like in the world of Agents of Shield or something like that. The writer behind it it's incredible, Jonathan Hendrick. The team we have on it: Marcelo Salasa, Matthew Matthias Hove, and Sade Temafonte. Big in the game. Sade Temafonte she's the letterer for a lot of the DC books. So we're giving you a professional looking book, and I just can't wait for those that know how I like to do action comic books. This is definitely one of the best ones that's coming out. The pages is coming out fantastic. The team's doing an incredible job on it, and I'm excited. When you let somebody, just like anybody else, when you get the pages in, you get just as excited as the readers. So you're like, oh wow, this is incredible. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this comic book into people's hands.
Fair enough. And then I'm gonna just say it, and I'm gonna keep saying it. You have to support things you want to see get made. I think is the way to say it. So if you want something to be made, you have to support it. And support
That's
comes
right.
in money, comes in tweeting about it, letting it go, social media, sharing it, backing it. Telling people, words of encouragement are very, very helpful sometimes. Just say, hey, I love what you're doing, love the pages, love your book, goes a long way. That's a big thing, and that's helpful. When somebody leaves me a positive comment on my show, it goes a long way. It is just as important as money sometimes, if not more, because it's always appreciated. But money is also always appreciated too. So yes, but obviously I have the link down in the description below, to the side, up above. I'm not exactly sure that side, this side, wherever it is, to the campaign. So you can go check it out for yourself, everybody. And then as far as I'm concerned, because it is my show and I do like to promote myself, obviously, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X. Please follow me there. I tend to tweet and get very angry and encouraging the Giants to fire their head coach extensively. I am unsuccessful so far this year. I am working on the Ravens too. For anybody who's a Ravens fan, John Harbaugh's got to go. It was a very upsetting loss. I'm in Connecticut. I'm a Giants fan. It's tough. It was tough. Very upsetting. So if you like to see all those tweets, follow me on Twitter. Sundays are fun. I get very creative with my tweeting in football. It's a game to me. If you would like to participate, you're more than welcome to do so. Instagram is Pop Anime Comics. Yes, I post fun stuff on Instagram too. A lot of cool stuff there. And you will find some other stuff and other Instagram accounts attached to me. We're dealing with cards and some other stuff. Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. You can find me there as well. I am Pop Anime Comics on the TikTok. I heard all the cool kids are there. I am one of the cool kids. I just want to make that crystal clear. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. Please subscribe. I do need this subscriber count. I have 876 subscribers. I would like 877 tonight. If somebody could be so kind to make that happen, I would greatly appreciate it. And I have almost 2,000 videos and almost like 1,500 interviews. So I cannot promise you'll get smarter by watching me. I will promise you will be entertained. I will promise. Right. And I've done everybody. I've done everybody from voice actors to comic writers to porn stars to cosplayers to writers to crypto experts to business leaders. You name it, I've done it. And if you think I haven't done it, I've done it, is the answer. So yes, I have done it all in that regard. So yes, there's so much content that's free up there. And then the final thing I do is I have an eBay store. So look for Comics and Collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay at Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And I sell stuff like this in my store, which is 101 autos. I sell stuff like this in my store. I sell stuff like this in my store. I sell base relics in my store. They put a baseball base in a card, stuff like this. And I haven't told anybody yet about this, but I did pull this, which is a limited 5 Stephanie Vauquer autograph, and I have not decided if it is going in my eBay store yet. It might when it arrives, but this is up there, and so is this. So that's a comic book, everybody. I have all 15 of those. So yes, I saw a lot of stuff. So if you're looking for something, whether it's comics or cards, super rare items, I got you covered. I I don't have everything, but if you first off look in my eBay store, 'cause stuff's coming in and out every single day. And then secondly, if it's not there, ask me, because if I have it, I'll list it. And if I don't have it, I know somebody who does. So that's everything I got going on, and I will give you the final word on that.
Yeah, the final word is also look for that retailer special for Footpath, and might be able to get it in through the same eBay through his through Andrew's eBay as well. So again, check out the Kickstarter. It's going to lead into a bigger project next year, and I'm thankful for all the support that we have given so far, and I appreciate the support that's coming in.
And I don't think I could have said that any better myself, everybody. And that is a wrap.